But I want to ask an interesting question with the last few minutes we have before the Super Chats. Space travel. Gentlemen, I believe everyone here is religious. Assuming aliens exist, should humans travel the stars to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ to aliens, to other planets, to other worlds?
You know what's interesting about that? Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, well,
Go ahead.
this is actually an interesting question, and there's a podcast I love listening to. It's called Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World. I'm going to shout it out. He is a Catholic apologist. He's very brilliant, and he'll talk about questions like this, which is not something you commonly get. So very unique, fills a great niche. He did a whole episode on the possibility of aliens and extraterrestrial life that I would really suggest the audience check out if they're interested in that kind of question. But I personally, I don't know that I would have much to say about that. I'm not sure the theological implications of extraterrestrial life.
What do you guys think?
What if they already know?
Yeah.
Right? Would it be the craziest thing if we land on this planet and we walk out and the first thing they say is, I'd like to have you heard about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?
I mean, the other thing too is it tells us in the gospel that the way to spread your faith is through kind acts and by living that faith.
Yeah, I mean, C.S. Lewis talked a lot about this and wrote science fiction. And so he even speculated about, because we believe in the Christian faith that we're a fallen species, could you have, if there's another planet out there separated by light years and galaxies, could they even potentially be unfallen? Maybe they had their own choice, they made the right choice. And then what are the implications of us kind of mixing? Do we almost become sort of like the serpents in the garden now, where we are the tempters? So it's an interesting question. I don't know what the answer to that is. It's kind of interesting to speculate. But
You guys ever watch American Dad?
Sadly.
Yeah.
So Roger the alien lives with them, but Stan, of course, they're Christian, and so there's a story arc where the apocalypse happens and the rapture happens, and then when all the good people are raptured, Jesus is on Earth. And he sees Roger the alien. He goes, "Ugh, one of my father's side projects."
Oh gosh.
I thought that was a funny joke.
No, it is.
That is amusing.
Do you believe in extraterrestrials?
I do, yeah.
He loves
All
it.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, it just seems like the classic argument I find really compelling, which is just like a mathematical certainty, basically. When you consider the expanse, the sheer unimaginable size of the universe, you got 100 billion galaxies with 100 billion stars in each one, and then each surrounded by planets. It's just the idea that the entire thing is empty of life, to me, it's just an absurdity, and I don't see any reason to assume that. But I think that if you, someone who says that they think it's all empty, it's almost like the burden of proof is on you in a way. That's the more absurd.
I take in the opposite direction. Yeah. I hear what you're saying. I think for me, I would not eliminate it as a possibility, but I would say I would need to see some evidence or proof that they exist, because the argument is often made there are so many planets that could potentially have life on them. Odds are there must be life there. But the problem with that is, first, you're assuming that life arising is an odds game rather than an intentional act by a creative God, which is what I believe. But even if it is an odds game, you're assuming that you have some idea of what the odds are. So let's say there's 1 billion habitable planets. Well, what if odds are only 1 in 1 billion? Then it would make sense that Earth is the only planet with life.
What if God intended to create life on other planets?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
the thing. I don't see it as an odds game, but here's the way I look at it. It's like if you walk into a giant mansion with like hundreds of rooms, and you're just right in the foyer, and then you kind of look around and say, I think the whole place is empty. If you were to say that, then it's like, then I'm going to say to you, well, why are you assuming that? It seems like the most logical thing to assume is that there's probably people in this house somewhere.
What if it's
there's
totally unfurnished and dusty, and there's no shoes around, and everything's covered with sheets, and you've walked in?
But in this analogy, all you see is literally the foyer. It's all you can see.
Yeah,
right, but what's in the foyer? Like, what are we seeing? Are the tiles cracked?
I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna mock your perspective, actually, because I think somebody might come in and be like, extraterrestrials. I know where you're coming from. I just feel like, for my worldview, I genuinely believe that life was intentional, and because of how I believe the fallen nature of our closed universe really is, I believe that the curse that God judges based off of the action of man, it would be unfair to then judge that onto somebody else, at least that's intelligent. Now, if there was something unintelligent or some smaller form of simpler life form, obviously even the curse of man passes down to animals and lower life form here, so I guess that could exist. However, I don't mock that, because I do believe in the supernatural, which is even crazier. There's so many people that don't believe in God, think the supernatural makes you a kooky guy, but then they believe in aliens. So I'm not going to do the opposite back and say I don't believe in aliens. But I'm saying believe in the supernatural. I do believe there's something else out there. I just do not believe it is physical, and I believe the physical was created here.
Can I just point out too that I do think it's strange that there are atheists who believe in ghosts.
That is
yes,
weird.
and energy and stuff. I don't.
But
get
here's
that.
the thing: you guys are talking about like where this fallen, that humanity has fallen. I think it's really sort of lucky that we were ejected from the garden and that we discovered our free will. And I think it gives us a much closer relationship with God to choose that relationship as opposed to just being, the children in the garden who are naked and innocent. I think it's, God gave us that free will,
I feel like we
and
chose
now we
them,
have
too.
we have the free will to love God fully.
Well, we had free will from the beginning, but now we live more separated from God because of the fall, which is taking us down a path away from aliens. But I mean, it's.
But it also, I mean,
going to the
without
border.
that, we would have no Jesus Christ. We would have we would not have this faith.
Well, Jesus.
It would just be. It would be like a knowledge. It would not be a faith.
Jesus has existed eternally, so we would still have Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but there was no Jesus Christ in the Garden of Eden.
There wouldn't have been a need. There wouldn't have been a need
wouldn't-
for a redemptive saving act.
Right. I think
But that would
this
be a good thing.
I disagree.
But can I ask a
I think
question?
it's good where we turned out.
Yeah, I actually just want to clarify a little bit because you brought up this idea of going into a house and you see the foyer and there's a lot of rooms. My point is not that I'm dismissing the possibility or saying absolutely no, there's nothing out there. It's just that until I saw someone there, had an indication that there was someone there, I wouldn't assume that anyone else was in the house.
Well, I think just the fact that the house exists and there's so many rooms is a pretty good. It's not proof, but you have a pretty good reason to assume that there's probably people in it somewhere. So I think the assumption that it's empty is the one that needs more.
Well,
evidence for it.
I'm not even necessarily saying it's empty. I'm just saying in order to believe in aliens, I think I would have to say yes, I think they're there, and I'm not prepared to say that given what I know.
So talking about the intentionality and God creates for a reason, which of course we all believe. So then what I would ask you guys is, we have all of these galaxies and solar systems that we can't even see. Like we can't even look up at the sky and see that, it's a pretty light because the light hasn't even reached us yet. And all just trillions of planets and everything. Why does any of that exist?
Maybe for us.
For it to be entirely empty. But
Maybe it's for us.
We will never see it or go anywhere near it or know that it's there, but it is there.
Maybe we will one day.
Maybe it's possible that it needs all of that. All of that is needed to support Earth.
That's true though. So I watched this really excellent lecture by this very Christian scientist. He drew an interesting conclusion, but what he said was Jupiter is essentially a filter for the solar system, that its gravitational pull helps protect the inner planets, and that the Earth should be peppered with much more space debris, but Jupiter protects us. And so he went on to explain how we're actually quite fortunate that life has arisen on Earth, but it's because of the entirety of the solar system that created this machine that we don't realize in the long run, that perhaps in the development of life at whatever stage, one impact could have wiped out all life, like we already know with the dinosaurs, assuming that is the correct theory these days. They change it very often. But Jupiter protects us, so the shape of the solar system matters. I wonder if the rest of the universe matters too. It's all part of one big machine. I don't know. I personally don't think that... I agree with you, Matt, that the expanse of the universe, I believe, suggests life probably exists somewhere else.
I think so too.
Based on similar conditions on Earth, which we've witnessed and measured on other planets. I hope to one day humanity will get there. And
we should totally go check it out.
I hope I'm wrong on this one in some ways, because being somebody who really does love the physical approach to these things, it is so interesting that with everything we've put into space and everything that we've tried to understand, that we have not found the viable forms of life we've actually tried to look for, and maybe we're just way behind in our development and our technology, and I'm ashamed in the fact that I do believe in, like, it's good to study the stars and understand paths and whatnot, but I also think, I don't know, going out there and just trying to find life on other planets.
Well, that's not the only.
We have found the
that's not
life.
the only
They've come
aim.
here. The life has come here. It's like the Navy pilots are seeing UFOs all over the place. They're telling us about it. They're like, hey guys, there's UFOs, and we're all.
But UFOs don't mean they're extraterrestrials.
What if the reality is aliens have already come here, quite normally and boringly as, say, tourists, but they get stopped by intergovernmental panels who are like, humans do not know about this. You cannot come to this planet.
This is one of my favorite sci-fi things, is when humans don't know anything about extraterrestrials, and then like some bureaucratic government somewhere else in the universe is like, just get rid of Earth, we got to put a highway there.
Yes,
I love that.
Well,
of course,
Hitchhiker's Guide.
Of course,
Yeah.
but it happens in other stuff too, where they're just like, get rid of Earth. I love that story.
Let me ask you guys. So we
really funny.
have launched Chicken City. which of course I'm extremely proud of. One of the most super chatted shows in the world already. And do these chickens know what's going on outside the chicken coop? They have no idea what exists outside there.
They don't even know what's going
They
on
don't
in
even
there.
know about the
What if-
disco party.
What if they're confused by it? What if what if Earth is a chicken coop?
Right.
In essence, analogous to a chicken coop where aliens know that we're here and they just sit back and watch and they're live streaming it. You know, I mean, South Park did the gag that aliens use Earth as a reality show.
Sure. Or
It's-
I hope
you know,
Ukraine
what if we're,
generated some super chats. You know,
Well,
what I mean?
What if we're just a
interesting.
cherry in a bowl of cereal?
It's
Who knows?
the great zoo hypothesis to Fermi's paradox. That maybe we are just a great zoo for the universe, and the reason, you know, all these other great civilizations talk to each other all the time, and then Earth is just entertainment for them, so we're just not relevant.
And that's why they're not getting back to us on our gold record that we sent out
right?
there.
They're
think
laughing at it.
They're just like, what
They
the
sent us these
hell is
weird
this?
naked pictures.
What is going
I
on?
don't,
They,
okay.
they sent us lewd images
Yeah.
and we're
I like
offended
that.
by it.
I think it's possible. I think it's sort of depressing. I always go with the more depressing theory, which is that like maybe civilization just reaches a point where it can't progress any. It's just, you reach a certain point where self-destruction is inevitable.
Well,
Fermi paradox.
Well,
Yeah,
actually,
that's the word,
Seamus had we were spitballing some ideas, and Seamus had a great idea where it's like the year is 2270, and like some guy travels to the future, and everything's the exact same.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're like,
yeah.
that was it.
Yeah, we stopped.
Yeah, we stopped.
Yeah.
This is the peak of technology. There's nothing else. This is just 2022. That was it, huh?
They dropped the iPhone 12 and we're like, well, nothing else to do.
Yep.
I guess we're done.
We're satisfied. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.